Good morning and welcome to the ordinary meeting of Te Kaunihira Arohi o Kawerau of the Kawerau District Council. We are here in our Kawerau District Council chambers, Wednesday the 26th of November 2025, here at 9 a.m, ready to start our meeting. As we do with all of our meetings, we invite please Pastor Mark Kingi to open our meeting, our hui this morning, with karakia timatanga with opening prayer. Can we all be upstanding, please?
Morena tātou.
Morena.
Kia ora. Aka karakia tātou. E pā, I roto te ingo o ihu. I tuku whakamoimi tia tōna mātou ki a koe. Whakapumautia tō aroanu. I roto tēnei hui noa iho. E ihoa, whakapaina tōna te kai whakawā kura mātua. Te tumu whakarai. Ngā kai whakahaere. Ngā kai kaunihira o te kaunihira o te rohe o Kawerau. Me te ui whānui, e pā, ko mai he kaha, he whakangungu, he tautoko, ia mātou I roto ngā tini whakararu, he tui, he tōnuitanga, kia nui haere me angitu, I runga ngā mahinga katoa, ia tō tātou taone, I roto te ingo kaha o ihu. Amene, kahuri. Father, in Jesus' name, we give you praise. Establish your presence in this ordinary meeting. Lord, bless her, worship the mayor, the chief executive, management, and the councillors of the Kawerau District Council and the public. Father, give us strength and protection, support, and wisdom in all difficulties, prosperity, increase, and success over every commercial industry and business in our town. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen.
As always, Papa, thank you for your words of guidance to guide the mahi that we do in the service of our people. We sincerely intend to do all that we can to do our very best to look after the place we all call home here in Kawerau. Nā mihi, Papa. Agenda item 2 this morning is apologies, and as we tend to say in the chamber, we are a full house. Thank you, elected members, for all being here for Kawerau. Agenda item 3 is leave of absence, and just a warm reminder saying that we are leave in advance as planned. If we could just put in some application, it gives us a just notice of planned leave, of course, when unexpected come up, and we take the opportunity to take advantage of the apologies. Agenda item 4. And I'm just going to check that was page 214 at the end of this agenda. Elected members, please, are there any conflicts of interest that we can foresee with regards to our agenda today? Code of conduct, we all intend to conduct ourselves very well as ambassadors of Kawerau. If there are none, we move into agenda item 5, which is the meeting notices, and we'll invite CEO Godfrey, please, if there are any.
Morena tātou, thank you, and through you, your worship, a number of meeting notices. The first is that you'll find 2 tabled documents on your desk. The first is Her Worship the Mayor's report, and then the second is council appointments to committees and external organisations. You'll also find on the run sheet that we have quite a constrained day. We have a visit from the East Coast MP, Dana Kirkpatrick, occurring at 11 a.m, which is a very important meeting for those elected members who are attending to attend. And then we have a hard deadline for a departure at 1 p.m. For the elected members who are travelling to Wellington for the very important, in light of recent announcement, LGNZ meeting on Thursday and Friday. Thank you, Your Worship.
We'll see you, Godfrey. Agenda item 6 is ngā mihi or acknowledgements, and I might just on the tail end of CEO Godfrey with regards to meeting notices. It's a live conversation in Kawerau, and it's an announcement that was made as recently as yesterday. So for those who are unaware, there have been some central government announcements made yesterday, I believe it was 5 p.m, in regards to our current representation and service delivery from our regional council. I'll invite anyone in Kawerau in our public forum to go onto Google and check that. It won't be too hard. The words that have been used is scrapping regional council. And as representatives for our community, our council took the opportunity. It was already planned actually to meet with our regional council. My message to Kawerau is please, the question would be, what does this mean? What does this mean in terms of the representation? We've just come through a local body election for our regional council and also the services that regional council deliver. Please, Kawerau, we don't know. Kawerau district councillors do not know because we were not the one who made the announcement. So we will take up the opportunity to meet with our Member of Parliament, Anna Kirkpatrick, later today to see if we might be able to understand a bit more and see what that communication looks like in terms of conveying what that means and what the impact will be for our people. So please, at this stage, for those who were wide awake last night and were all over the social media platforms that are looking for answers to questions in terms of what that means, for our elected members, A, that was not an announcement made from Kawerau District Council, and B, we will do our level best to engage with those who did make the announcements so we can understand actually the impact for our community, dare I say the impact for the whole of the Bay of Plenty region. I'll take that opportunity to see Godfrey and we'll follow that through when we have the opportunity to meet with our Member of Parliament. Thank you. We move to agenda item 7, which is always wonderful it's agenda item 7, our public forum. Always wonderful to have our chamber warmed by the presence and the invitation to improve what we do. So this is not central government announcement. This is what we do here at Kawerau District Council. And we joined in the chamber this morning by 3 of our wonderful sons and daughters of Pūtawaki, of Koro Pūtawaki, of Kawerau Hapori community. Can I invite, please, Christine Manson? I believe we are kicking off with you. Come on up, Christine. Wonderful to see you. Thank you. Good morning,
How many councils in New Zealand does the mayor come up and give you a hug and a greeting? I mean, it's absolutely amazing. This was a kind of a spur of the moment thing. I've been thinking about this ever since I've lived in Kawerau and finally got to doing it. So I came today, and I'm not just speaking on behalf of myself. I'm speaking on behalf of lots and lots of people who I've spoken to in the community. So I spend a lot of time on our river between Waterhouse Street and the golf club. And in the 7 years that I've lived here, I've had 11 incidents personally with dogs not on leashes. 2 of them quite serious, where I've been attacked. No scars, but and a few weeks ago, my friend's grandchild was bitten on the face by a dog that wasn't on a lead here along the river. It was a female dog. It had pups, and the children were carrying the puppies, and the mother dog was just roaming. And as she was walking towards them, the mother dog just must have seen the little person as a threat. And I speak to many people, especially older people in our community, who don't want to go walking along the river because they are afraid of dogs, and lots of people take sticks. So I've been looking at other councils' policies, and I would just like to propose that we have an area in Kawerau where people can walk and know that the dogs are going to be on leads. It says dogs must be under control, but most people, their dogs are roaming way ahead of them when they are free walking along the river, and they also don't see that when their dogs do their business, so they don't pick it up, which is another good reason to have their dogs on leads. So I was proposing, I mean, I won't take my grandchildren down to the river for a swim anymore because last summer these dogs, we were just swimming and these dogs were walking in front of their owners by a few hundred yards, and they just rushed up to my grandkids, and we jumped in the river because, and so I don't want to take my grandchildren for a walk along the river. So I was just wondering if we could make an area from Waterhouse Street to the golf club where dogs have to be on leads at all times. And I was looking at Tauranga District Council, and they have also a policy that in places of intense public use, dogs must be on leashes, and if they're approaching other people, then they have to put them on a leash. And I would say that the river, especially down at the flats, is a very public use intense place in the summer. You know, there's families with children, and a lot of people bring their dogs down, and that's wonderful. And they say their dogs are on, that they have control of their dogs, but a lot of people actually don't. And then when the dog rushes up to you or rushes up to your children and they go, oh, it's all right, the dog won't hurt you, but we don't know that, and children don't know that. And as I say, I'm not just speaking for myself. I have spoken to lots and lots of people over the years that I've lived here, and it would just be nice to have one place where we could walk and know that we're not going to be bothered by dogs. That is all I'm asking. Just, you know, and also that we could have, like in other communities where they have dedicated dog off the leash areas that are actually fenced, you know, like dog exercise area, and I know that costs or something, or places where people can have their dogs off leash. Yeah, that would just be wonderful.
Well, Christine, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, before we take a seat, I'll just open to the table, please, if there are any points of clarification, any comments that we would like to make in regards to the presentation to seeing Christine this morning, elected members.
Eileen, there was an incident which wasn't reported up the back of.
Come on up, Bill.
Yeah. I don't want to take you apart.
No, it's okay, we can finish that.
So talking about dogs where a woman was actually bitten, the dog was had to have veterinary surgery, and this was at the back in the farm at the top of Beatty Road. Now, sort of, it wasn't recorded. I don't think she complained, but it does highlight what you've just been saying. And there are stray dogs walking around.
Thank you, Bill. I'll just finish off the presentation. CEO Godfrey, can I invite you, please? Any comments with regards to dog control or lack thereof, dare I say?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, thank you, Christine, for raising your concerns, and thank you too for bringing a number of concrete ideas for policy changes which might occur. Policy changes are for elected members to determine, so we can look into how policy might be changed to better accommodate dogs on leads versus dogs not on leads who should be on leads. So we'll look into what changes might occur there. Operationally, we always do encourage people to report whatever incidents do occur, and we always do follow up to the best of our ability with the resources that we do have. But thank you, and we will pursue or look into the concrete ideas that you've raised. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
It's been a while since I've stood up here.
Where are
So,
your hands, Bill?
yeah,
Morning.
congratulations to those who have been elected, because there are some new faces which I haven't seen before. So, yeah, congratulations. What I'm here to talk about is, guess what? Stormwater. That's my favourite subject. A couple of years ago, we had not flooding, but we had serious cyclonic river almost came through, created a lot of damage here in Kawerau. And the council and the administration put it in a series of dams and culverts and drains up the top of Beatty and Hardy. They have worked extremely effectively. But the big problem is the preventive maintenance. There isn't any. The drains and the drains themselves, the culverts are now clogged up with brambles up the top of the dam, in the dam area, which is specifically designed to drain from one level to the other. They are blocked with, here again, brambles. If we don't maintain them, guess what? All that money we've spent is a waste of money. And sort of, so it brings me back to we need to do something about it. Thanks, Failing, because I did email you about this and you guys did do something about it. There was a person who did come up and spray the culvert area and the drain, but they didn't go up into the dam area. And I think the comment was, and it wasn't to me, it was to another resident, that, oh, it's on farmland, it's nothing to do with us. Well, guess what, folks? It is something to do with you. We spent the money up there. If we put the dams up there, we've got to maintain them. So sort of my whole question here is, what's happened in terms of our procedures for preventive maintenance? Do we have any? So Morgan, this is probably applying to you more than the councillors here. What system and procedures do we have in terms of preventive maintenance? It appears at the moment they're not effective, because if they were effective, these drains would have been cleared. If this is the case up the top of Beatty, what's happening around the rest of the town? You know, sort of it's something we really need to look into. But my answer to you is, if you want a procedure, or if we need to improve this, we really need to look at procedures in terms of probably productivity improvement. I notice we don't have any strategy for that at all. If we had that strategy, and I'm not just talking about people here, I'm talking about systems and procedures, you probably pick that up. You could go, here's an example, you could probably pick up an ISO standard, international standard. If you pick that up and you work through it, you would see all of these things, all of these items would have been worked through, and you put a standard through for that. The ISO 9000 standard, quality standard, the environmental 1400, you could use that. There's some answers. So, but I would like, I know you're smiling, mate, but you've probably been to business school and you probably know all about it. But I think the days were past, the days of Drucker and Deming, mate. We really need to get these procedures in place so that we have a proper maintenance, preventive maintenance schedule. And that includes responsibility, accountability, and getting the job done.
Thank you, Bill.
I rest my case.
Thank you. Always wonderful to see you, Bill, and you know that this council is really keen to improve what we do. It's not beneath us to actually see, not lose sight of what we are doing well, but also to have a look at the spaces and places that we can do a better job. I might actually, as the chair.
It's let's do things smarter. Yeah.
As the chair, and I do think that we are, Bill, so I might, see Godfrey, I might actually take the liberty, please, for elected members in our oversight, due diligence, governance, responsibility. Please, if you'll excuse me, I might invite Manager Nell, please, if you would mind joining us at the table, Manager Nell, Group Manager Nell, that would be great. It would be great for elected members to understand what that maintenance schedule looks like. If you have a stock take, not only of the culvert that is at the top of Beatty Road, but in terms of stock take and our collective responsibility and oversight, what that maintenance program might look like, please, Manager Nell. Thank you.
Sure, good morning, everyone.
Morning, Nell.
Yes, so at this moment, all our detention basins and stormwater infrastructure is being inspected. These particular ones that Sir is referring to is situated on private land. So those areas are not mowed like we do with parks and reserves. What we do have is 3 monthly, 6 monthly, and 3-year inspections that are executed on those. We do monitor, for example, silt and sediment buildup, rodents, also for blockages before and after rain events, as well as trees, tree trunks or shrubs that's growing on that area. We have noted some blackberries in that area, and those are being sprayed and will be sprayed again in autumn. So at the moment, we have not realized or identified any silt or blockages on those detention basins.
My comments are preventive, which means exactly what you're saying, a regular spraying, regular looking. That hasn't been happening in the past. I know that because I personally, and Bill Johnson, who also lives up that area, have been actually spraying the drains to keep them clear because no one was doing it. But we haven't gone back up into the property on the dams, which is a critical part of this procedure. You know, the dams are designed so that they gradually, the flood waters or the water built up behind them will gradually drain down to the culverts and drains and clear away. But if you don't maintain them, even though they're on property land, private land, forget that it's private land, because basically we put the the dams there. We spent the money. We need to maintain them. And if you don't maintain them, you're going to have a problem.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. And look, I was with Malcolm and his little red doozer
Yeah.
at the time when that deluge of water came down. So I absolutely know where you're speaking from
Yeah.
and the concern that you have. See Godfrey, please. What we will need to revisit, because the private land ownership is something that we need to be mindful of, Bill. And I'm not dismissing your memory of that deluge of water when it came down BDF. I'm not dismissing that.
Yeah.
But please, the relationship respectfully that we need to have, it was by the grace of the private landowner that we were able to have that piece of infrastructure put in there. So it's simply for us to actually work through respectfully to be able to gain access, so we don't have these comments of, that's not ours,
I
we
know the
can't do
private
it.
landowner.
Bill,
I've
thank
spoken
you.
to him.
Yes,
He's quite willing to,
thank you, Bill, but
To
I'm
do-
sorry, that's the farm
yeah.
manager, that is
That's
not
right.
the landowner.
I should say the farm
So
manager.
the farm manager, thank you. So respectfully, we will work with our CEO so that there is beyond the
Let's have a
farm manager.
solution. Let's have a
Yeah.
solution. I really don't want to hear things like, oh, we can't deal with this farm manager.
I hear you, Bill. Thank
I
you.
want a solution.
What we will do is work with our staff who are there. There is a conversation that you're having in the proximity of that area with the farm manager. So a relationship respectfully that we need to have, and the conversation and agreement is with the land owner. And we will work with that. You leave it in our capable hands,
Yeah,
Bill, and
well,
we'll work with
yeah.
it. How's that? Is that okay?
Put a time limit on it.
Well,
Make someone responsible.
it's going to be co-agreed by private landowner. That had to be purchased back, I will say it like that.
Yeah.
That was not gifted back in part of settlement, that had to be purchased back. So we need to step very respectfully and carefully. But look, it was allowed to be placed on there, so I'm sure we can come up with something.
I'm sure you will. But the only comment, my last comment is,
Yes, Bill.
make sure that you have a time frame, you've got accountability and responsibility for it.
By the grace of the landowner, that timeframe will be determined in that conversation.
Because I don't want to come up here and speak about it.
I will come up to you. It's not hard. Only 24 square kilometres and we know the way. I remember the doozer. Thank
It's
you,
called the
Bill.
Gamble Walk. And you people should be out doing it. You shouldn't be sitting at your desks all the time. Walk around and have a look at what's going on.
Excuse me,
in the
Bill.
place.
I'm sorry. I won't take that. We don't sit on the desk. I can assure you,
Sorry.
I'm in here every day. And we're here to help. I'm sure we've demonstrated that, Bill. And I hope the intent, look, it was yourself and several of our public forum presenters that were often frustrated by coming in very passionately to raise matters and just to feel dismissed. The intent is to demonstrate and show the courtesy of a response so that you can hear what the plan is going forward. And that is how we like to engage and serve our community. Thank you, Bill. Always wonderful to see you. And we often say we
I'm
leave
not
the
advocating Doge.
best for last, as we say. Brett Mason, please.
Justin's laughing.
Welcome on in, Brett. Morena.
Morena. No challenging councillors. Aren't we public, a lovely bunch of menace people? Come up here with problems and we leave with solutions and we even ask for more. Oh, I'm glad you're on the team and not me. My korero today, and I've spoken with the Honourable CEO Morgan Godfrey about this, and I've spoken about it before, our river and embankments. My main concern here, the height of our rivers are getting up higher and higher every time we have a rainstorm. But now we're getting young ones swimming our awa across the river, especially down by Boyce Park. And they're starting to chisel and cut into the embankment, which will cause a lot of infrastructural problems upstairs, to a point where they actually start to create caves. Now, whether they actually want to live in those caves or not, I have no idea. I can't exactly do Mr. Gadget and actually extend an arm and go and have a look inside the cave because it's from here to the waiting room next door. But just the other day, I was walking around the park there and I happened to notice that some of them are starting to cover it in, whether it's by the soil or not, I couldn't quite tell. The other problem that we have is, as we know, and our lovely Mayor Failing's just brought it up about our regional council, and whom I've spoken to our CEO about, and start a communication there for them to come and have a look at it. Our regional council themselves, we have no idea what's going on their behalf, but thus I come to my first defence, and that's all you guys. If I had a waiter that was at least 6 feet tall and around about maybe 20 tonne, I probably could wade across our Tarawera River and actually go and have a look myself. I don't have those facilities. If I had a abseiling kit, I could probably go up on the pipeline and abseil over the hill. But you'd probably have the geothermal steam bores coming after me and saying, why am I denting their infrastructure? The solution is an ongoing one. So the solution is, the problem is an ongoing one, but the solution is also ongoing because I have no idea what the solution could be. Because also not only is the embankments getting torn out, the trees themselves, people are going down there stripping the bark off the trees, or off our lovely, lovely fauna. There was once only one tree that's been plucked, now there's around about 4. And these are the ones that the regional council hasn't taken out, and they're our native trees. Whether we can put game trail cameras along the riverbank there to actually just try and catch up who's doing what, and having someone regularly going over there and checking the game trail videos to help the case. I don't know, that's about the severity I can think of as a solution, and put several game trails cameras along the area of from Tarawera Bridge up to Waterhouse Street Bridge, so that if there's any problems or any, might be able to come up with a solution. But then again, Kawerau kids are quite smart. They see these things and they go tutu, you know. And we've all been down that track before. You know, you can't tell me there's not one of us that hasn't got a gadget and going, yeah, how do you work this thing? So that's the main problem that I've come about that. And the other one there, and I've mentioned it downstairs, is the general rubbish that the public is throwing and just not collecting along our groundlands. It's another issue around Boys Park because we know that if we put a bin in, someone's going to wreck it. If you put it's been done time and time again in the past and probably do it again in the future. I asked the proprietor of the judo club, can we put in one of those bins where you can put a match to it? It's like a brasserie. And you just put a match in, and when it gets full, you put a match in it. Both gone, incinerated. Okay, there's the environmental pollution and all of that, but if it's a self-igniting one, it means nobody has to go up there and push the button, but it gets to a certain level and it's just smoulders away. And then all that's left is ash, which we can chuck on our gardens. And that. The other issue that I have with Boys Park is that we got a lot of holes there that through Gabriel, there's a lot of ruts where the trees used to be. I'd like to see if council's able to go and put a truckload of topsoil and fill those holes up. Because as you're walking along the whenua, uneven, when you fellas are all about my own age, but when you get a little bit older and you start getting on unlevel ground next to a hullo, you end up having a fall or a broken hip or sprained limb. And the last thing you need to do then is do as what I call is the giraffe, try and get off the ground and get back up on 2 legs again. But if those areas could be filled in, it probably would even help the management of the lawns as well, when the boys go across with the lawnmower. If they can be filled in the different areas. But other than that, God bless you all, and may your Christmas season be a season of happiness, joy, bliss, whānaungas, and also come back next year because there's more to come.
Eileen, just
Hey,
to,
one moment,
Sorry.
please, Bill. Brett, thank you. A lot of the matters that you've raised, other than the first one, and I will finish with the first one, that's very deliberate, are largely operational. Now, did I hear you say that you have reported these downstairs in terms of
One of them I
identifying?
have.
One of them you have.
I'll go back downstairs and.
Because that really helps our team to be able to know where to go. Because I'm mindful in terms of time frame that we are a year out from Gabrielle, so that's a long time. And we have had some work underway, but it helps us to know where to go to be able to have the operational team. And I'm very confident that Group Manager Mel has a very keen and willing team. Yes, we have some discussions to be held regarding the second matter that was raised in the forum. But if they are reported, then they're captured and we're able to, as a governance team, have oversight and follow through of the requests for service that have been made. C. Godfrey, please. I will finish, as I said, with the first item that was raised around, and I know it's very quick timing, but we are midway when the matter of the bank erosion along the river was first raised. I believe that you're in mid-conversation with the regional council, or the regional council as we knew it at the time. Sir, please, just in regards to the announcement that was made and where those conversations may sit in, but if you can even take a calculated strategic guess at that, understanding that's as fresh as just over 12 hours ago, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Brett. Yes, we have been conversing with Regional Council, and we were midway through those conversations, and we did have a response from Regional Council who were going to send their bank experts to inspect the Tarawera River. However, as of 5 p.m. yesterday, those conversations may need to be given some time before they're picked up again as the organisation looks inward to determine how it maps out its future from here. So it may be something that would have to pick up sometime in 2026 as opposed to before Christmas, given the reforms which have been announced yesterday, which gives some uncertainty as to the current and future structure of what Regional Council will be doing and how it will be doing it. So we'll pick up, I'll pick up that email thread we're in, Brett, in 2026. Thank you, Your Worship.
So thank you, Brett. Bill, we'll go for one more turn and then we do have 200 pages
I
to get
realise
to.
that. Just quickly
Come on up.
quickly on the top of Brett was saying, Regional Council are responsible for rubbish in Cowra Road, and you're saying rubbish is lying around. The council here does a brilliant job, don't get me wrong, in terms of the streets here, kept beautifully clean. Once you head outside the council area onto Cowra Road into the Whakatane area or the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, the place is like a tip along the roads. Now, I've heard all sorts of excuses why you can't do it. There's always an answer. I haven't got an answer to give you at the moment because it's a regional council one. It's something, Morgan, you might like to take up if you're going down. What are going to be the responsibilities? How far is the council going to go out in terms of keeping the area clean? All I can say is ask Invercargill what they're doing, because in Southland, all the area, you drive down there, it's as clean as a whistle. There's no rubbish lying around. Further north you come, it gets grubbier and grubbier. And to where you get to Whakatane, we're around here and it's a tip.
Thank you, Bill. What I will say is that it is very difficult to stand in front of Kawero in terms of the rating that we put on different properties to do someone else's job. I will say that to you outright.
That's why I said it was a regional
And
council.
also, well, actually, that's a territorial authority.
Yeah, that's right.
Responsibility beyond that.
Yeah, the only chance you would have had was to liaise with
Thank
the.
you, Bill. My second comment would be around this proposal of this current government around amalgamation.
Yeah.
And it would be very disappointing that, as you said, in the streets of Kawerau, in the district of Kawerau, in our 24 square kilometres, beautiful. That's because we live here and this is what we have every day. There is a real drive for amalgamation, and being the smallest council and community in the Bay of Plenty region, I don't believe would serve us well. We would be an afterthought to those bigger communities.
I agree with you entirely.
So let's have a look at that. That is something that we have to
fight for
watch
what you.
very closely around some of the announcements that may be made and how that it may impact us.
It's something you could bring up with Dana maybe when she comes, you know.
Great idea, we'll do that. Thank you for
I
that.
don't know that you're doing that, Morgan, aren't you? So I'd really fight for that, mate. You've got to really put your foot down, mate.
Thank you,
Do a
Bill.
Donald Trump.
Thank you. Councillor Hill, please.
Yes, about the rubbish, sometimes I actually get a little bit frustrated about that myself, and sometimes I really feel that it comes down to personal responsibility. I come from a background where we would never have thrown our rubbish out the window when we were driving along, and I think maybe modern attitudes have probably enhanced that, you know, the modern attitude of just, it's not my rubbish, it's not my problem. So perhaps maybe an educational thing.
Education doesn't work, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, councillor Hill. Look, one of the biggest challenges, you'll often see it, dog control, it was raised earlier. The common courtesy of having your dogs on lead and when you're in a shared space with the rest of Kawerau, that's not always observed. And then we have our dog control team, a very small dog control team, having to chase from one end of Kawerau to the other. It's the same with rubbish. We ask is please just play your part. Personally, they just find a bin and put it in. If we need to have more bins placed in, you know, more strategically, that's definitely a conversation we can have. But just you can lead a horse to water, but you simply cannot make a drink. I'm not that wise, by the way, someone far wiser than me. Thank you, team.
Singapore, you won't see rubbish lying around anyway.
Thank you.
Ask, they do.
And the population that they have to pay for that belongs.
Population, yeah.
Thank you. Team, thank you. Always invigorating to have our community come and meet with us. It can get lonely in the chamber when we just go through business as usual. And it's always great to hear from you so that we never forget our purpose, which is about home, but there are some wider conversations. And leave it with us, we'll follow those through, team. Most welcome to stay. We will close public forum and we will continue on with the body of, you're most welcome to take your leave if you have some other things to do, or welcome to stay.
Bye. Thanks, folks,
Have
for
a great
listening to
day.
me.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We are at 9:40 AM, team, in our public forum. Thank you. Has closed. We're at agenda item 8, which is the confirmation of council minutes, pages 1 through to 6. And I'm mindful that these are a set of minutes from the former training and the team I just placed there. Agenda item 8.1 is the ordinary council meeting for the 24th of September 2025. Elected members within your hands.
I'm happy to move that it's a true direct record, your worship.
Thank you. I have a mover in councillor Julian. Given that we have a new composition of our council, I might just invite if there are any questions at this stage, because largely it will be information received, given that the new elected members weren't actually part of that direct conversation. And it really would just be new eyes looking into a conversation that was held without elected members. I'll hold your motion to move councillor Julian for one moment, please. There's nothing from elected members, just information to be received to try as we start to understand the language that's used. Local government information received. I will pick that up again. I have a Deputy Mayor Kingi.
Just an acknowledgement to the items that we're raising in public forum this morning. When you look at our further item on pages 47 in regards to the action schedule, it does refer and update that there was a follow-up that was done. So I appreciate Brett Pacey being here today, but also the actions items that are followed up outside of, just for our new members that sit around the table, when action items are identified, there is also always a follow-up then, which is usually with the operational strategic action schedule. So I wanted to note, Your Worship, because I was going to ask questions, because it was actually in the front of our agenda item, and then it's not till you read further that you actually see, oh no, that has been done. I don't need to ask that question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor King.
Yeah.
Councillor Dowling.
Thank you, Worship. Just in terms of page 2, one of the statements I took from that was the concern being an eyesore. Now, when I think of the word concern, it is something of a worry. It refers more to something that could possibly happen. So just I didn't get a chance to ask, but when we say eyesore, can I just some clarity about concern? Going back to page 2, under Rec PC and point 1, bullet point 1.
Thank you, Councillor Dowie. That was verbatim what was said by the presenter, if that makes any sense at all. So it was really expressing the view that it was literally an eyesore. And given that that is on recording, in terms of accuracy, that was how that was conveyed by Brett Pacey at the time. Just sore on the eyes, I guess, would be my most calculation. But yes, Councillor Dowie, I hope that helps.
Yeah.
If there's nothing further, we do. Thank you. Have a recommendation, please, that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 24th of September. The resolution is be confirmed as a true and accurate record, given that we do have a new composition. I have a mover in Councillor Julian who was present. I have a seconder in Deputy Mayor Kingy who was present. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? The item is carried. Thank you. We are on pages 7 through to 10. Team at agenda item 8.2, which is the ordinary council meeting. First council meeting of the current elected meeting back on the 29th of October 2025. We were blessed to host our first meeting at Otahi Marae. Elected members, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Your Worship, just an acknowledgement after what was alluded to through media at 5 o'clock last night. Just want to celebrate on page 7 all of our whānau who took up the mako and they voted. And so in that space, those who stood on behalf of Kauro, because they love Kauro, and then those who were able to put pen to paper and vote. And so being able to have that inaugural meeting, our first one at Otahi Marae, it just was a reminiscent of all the aroha that we felt from our community, and hope that moving forward we hold on to that aroha during the turbulence that we're actually in at the moment, and work with our Bay of Plenty wide, because we all have that mamae. But in that space, just going back to why we stood, and of course, the beautiful day, the formalities, our whānau, the celebrations. When I read that, I just went back. But what a journey. Awesome kauro, and awesome all the other districts who were able to celebrate in these spaces as well. So it was heartwarming, Your Worship. I just went back, and after hearing that last night, of course, there was some mamae for our whānau, and also some, not fears, not fearful, but what the conversations will look like and who the conversations need to be had in regards to culture not being lost, but also Bay of Plenty not being lost in some of those conversations. So it was very exciting, and I'm glad it was captured the way that it has been captured through that report, pages 7 to 10, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor King. Councillor Julian.
Just through you, Your Worship, just recapping a big thanks, particularly to Manager Leanne Butler, but all of the staff to get our annual report adopted on time. And because we had our swearing in October, before the end of October, and were then able to pass our annual plan for a little council, we are extremely good at meeting our deadlines. So lots of councils who didn't hold their swearing in until after October could not adopt their annual plans because there was no council. And so well done for the planners, not only your worship, but also for our management team as well. And thanks to our auditors, they always come through at the last minute, even if it is midnight oil. But I think that's in part the rapport that we do have with our auditors, and we've been very fortunate in my time as a councillor to have had very good auditors. But, you know, we've worked at that to create it.
Anything further from elected members? I will just take the time to acknowledge, given that the minutes actually capture the meeting proper that was held later in the afternoon, we were very fortunate that day to have the presence of whakataone or Pōtiki mayors and councillors, and dare I say actually our Eastern Bay representatives on the regional council for that day as well. It feels like so long ago, it's just about 4 weeks ago, or might be to the day. But that is very much a reflection of the work that we do across our region, sub-regionally, to join up where it makes sense in terms of our intent to be as efficient and effective as we can. Feels like so long ago, team. It's only been 4 short weeks. We've packed a lot in. If there is nothing further, we do have a recommendation, please, that the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 29th of October 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record. Do I have a mover?
Happy to move.
I have a mover in Councillor Worsley. I have a seconder in Councillor Ross. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none. The item is carried. Pages 11 through to 16, please, team. We're at agenda item 8.3, which is the extraordinary council meeting held on the 12th of November 2025. Elected members, they're on your hands. Memory, this was the day that our table of nine was complete. It's like upon your return. There are no questions or points of clarification. We have a recommendation that the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 12th of November 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record. I have a mover in Councillor Julian and a seconder in Councillor Apiata. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We're at pages 17 through to 19. Agenda item 9, which is the receipt of committee minutes. Agenda item 9.1, recognizing that this is from previous term. Elected members, the Iwi Liaison Committee meeting held on the 18th of August 2025. Welcome in, new members of our table. This will be the first sighting of the Iwi Liaison Committee, one of our subordinate committees, or one of our actually main committees that we have. And appreciate this will be new eyes looking into conversations that have been held with our Iwi Liaison Cultural Advisor and whoever the Iwi Liaison Cultural Advisor would like to invite in as well.
Just through you, Your Worship, it was brought home to me when we had our economic partnership at Furman Lodge, and I'd be very keen to find out the timetable for learning the Waiatas to support our liaison officer, whose name I will definitely learn this to.
Thank you, Councillor Julian. We'll leave that in the capable hands of our lovely Liana to work in with our executive team and Paddy Maxwell and Marjon Rogers around working that timetable, and very important, and we want to be very strong and confident in our support. Thank you, Councillor Julian.
Thank you. Just through you, Your Worship, I also notice the difficulty in naming what we call the dump reserve, because we want to honour the place and the people who were there in the pa, but we don't want to honour them with the dump. So it's quite a hard task working out how we are going to do that, because if I'm right, these reserves are gazetted, aren't they?
Thank you. I might actually just refer straight across to see Godfrey for that clarity. We may confer further into the team. See Godfrey, please.
Through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Julian. There's been some movement on this matter since the August meeting of the iwi liaison. So staff have been looking into ways that the reserve may be, for lack of a better term, carved out so that one part can be named according to the iwi's wishes, and then the other part can remain the dump reserve. We've been looking into some of the issues around gazetting, whether the land is capable of being subdivided and others. So we're in the midst of all of those questions at the moment, and I believe in the midst of the archive looking for whether a gazetted name exists, because that will help determine what then happens if it has been gazetted versus if it has not been gazetted. So depending on how that works out, there'll be two different pathways that could open up. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Through your worship.
Councillor Hill.
I also noted the item 4.4 about proposed name for the housing development at Stoneham Park. I just bullet point 1, 2, 3. So bullet point number 4, the proposed name Manaya. I'm not sure if I can make a suggestion, but we do have ones previously serving there. Wahine Toa, Mrs. Hartley. I wonder if there would be a suggestion of somehow incorporating the Hartley name.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. The naming of the housing development has been something that has been discussed several times. And for those who don't know, Manaya is actually the birth name of the chief Ngāti Tuwharetoa. That's where that was originally raised. And then you will read perhaps the 2025 proposed name. We do have, thank you, Group Manager Gillespie, a naming policy, and it would be good for us to actually revisit that, particularly in the new makeup and composition of our elected member table, to revisit some of the approaches and the methodologies, because when we landed actually was, rather than confining that to a particular person, perhaps it's the qualities of leadership that we would want to honour so that it can be actually applicable to any leader of the day rather than that particular person. That's been our way to, in our intent historically, to honour someone who has contributed a lot over a long period of time. However, there are some qualities which actually can be applicable to everybody and all the leadership, not only through council, but in all of our service in our community, and our schools, our principals, our education places, our hauora, any type of quality that cares for people and looks after people is a leadership quality. But I again will take the opportunity, please, to action point that team and and not revisiting, but actually inviting our new makeup of elected members that Kawera have brought to the table, so we can have a look at that naming policy and see how we go out and have that conversation with Kawera. Thank you, Councillor Paul.
Your worship,
Councillor Apiata.
just returning back to the naming of the dump. See, Godfrey, I was thinking of another way of actually approaching it and more of a historic documenting of it through our museum library to capture the significance of that area, and that way separating the actual site from the significance of, because from reading that, the biggest concern is calling it, associating it with the dump. So I was thinking maybe that's a way forward to separating the two.
Thank you, Councillor Apiata. As the chair, I will hand that off to see Godfrey.
Sorry.
I can assure you it took me 12 long years to learn that the hard way. We're getting there.
Yeah.
You'll be much quicker than my 12 years, I can assure you. Thank you, Councillor Apiata. We have an opportunity, particularly through our iwi liaison committee and then as a table as a whole, to re-engage with, we have some tools available to us, I think, and I'll look to see Godfrey for confirmation. In terms of our museum, Hoi Noa, however, the content belongs to tangata whenua. That's why we start with tangata whenua first. So once there is an agreement of what history, and some of the history, let's be very honest, is quite brutal and may not want to be shared that openly. We start with that agreement first, very similar to the private land access and availability. We have an agreement of what is to be shared, and then we propose some of the tools that are available through council to be able to share that with our wider community. That has taken us some time, but that's far more warm than it has been in the past, which is why we will not disregard private land ownership and just go across, because that will make this type of conversation very difficult for us. So we have an opportunity, iwi liaison, and we are acknowledging first time in 71 years in Kawerau that we have Māori ward councillors, and then actually as a table as a whole, that we engage with the keepers of that knowledge and the keepers of those stories to see what can be shared. And we do have an example actually with Tifa, the QR codes, Tifa and Biri. That was an agreed conversation about, what is the story, what is the whakapapa, not only for those who are tangata whenua tū wharetoa, but all the sons and daughters who call Kawerau. So we look forward to planning that. We've got lots to get on the table and we're very excited and energised for it. Thank you. I hope that helps. Thank you.
And through you, Your Worship, just continuing it to actually have these conversations at the table. Acknowledgement to Koro Te Haukawa, lovingly referred to as Koro Boise. But in that space, that has been the dump for a long time. And it's the lens that he actually brings to the table, that changes that. And so being able to have that, and then of course you have your statutory functions, but making sure culturally, the relationships that are already with our iwi, that's actually part of it as well as the statutory functions. And so I look forward to our whānau having a look at the naming policy, because we were part of that table when the naming policy came up, and there was some reconnections to names that weren't fully used in its entirety. But again, there is some statutory process. So you've got to honour that too. And so Koro Te Haukawa, he's really good at bringing us back to our whys and the whakapapa that lies behind it, but is not alone in where those conversations have come from. So I had, just like everybody else, just always thought it was the dump. But then when you actually hear the kōrero, which Haere Maxwell, we were actually really lucky to be able to hear the kōrero lovingly shared. And that might be something, Your Worship, that is part, because it's not entirely in 4.1, just around where it come from, because then it becomes more than the dump. It's something bigger. And I'm really proud to see that those conversations are at our table as well, because they fit with the statutory functions. Actually, they make statutory functions fit a lot better.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kingi. That is an invitation, team. That's simply the minutes from the 18th of August. The beauty of what we refer to as whakapapa rangahau or research is that there are other minutes that preceded these that we have the opportunity to, in a disciplined way, go back to understand how we landed here in August. But that's the art of the minutes, is you don't drag everything out, because these are often multi-year conversations, but to be able to get the context of, that's what was captured on that particular day. What does that mean? The understanding often lies in going back through the history and the research to go, okay. And that's how we landed at that point, because it's a capture of the conversation at a point in time. We do have, I was going to say, screeds and screeds of every other meeting that we have had. And there is I've said it before, there is a lot of reading, but the intent, the purpose is to give an understanding of, is that why we're looking at that, or is that why we're doing it in that particular way? We can liaise outside of this meeting to be able to have those sent out, just to give an understanding. If that's helpful, we might just flag that. We've got a lot of action points coming thick and fast. It's wonderful. Thank you. If there is nothing further at this stage, and we do have some research rangahau to go through for all of our committees, we do have a recommendation, please, that the minutes of the e-liaison committee meeting held on the 18th of August 2025 be received. Do I have a mover? I have a mover in Councillor Hill and a seconder in Councillor Dowie. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against, there are none. The item is carried. We're at pages 23 to 24. Agenda item 9.2, which was the Regulatory and Services Committee meeting held on the 12th of November 2025. Deputy Mayor Kingi, very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to move the minute, Your Worship. It's true and correct. Unless there's any other further orders from the table.
Anything further from elected members? If there are none, I have a mover. Second, that the minutes of the Regulatory and Services Committee held on 12th of November, moved by Deputy Mayor Chair Kingi,
and seconded by Councillor Apiata.
Let me just make sure that that is. Thank you. I have a seconder in Councillor Apiata. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against, there are none. The item is carried. We're at pages 25 to 35. Agenda item 10, which is the receipt of regional minutes. There's a 10.1 Regional Transport Committee meeting, which again was held back on the 19th of September 2025. We will learn more about this. This is the Bay of Plenty, currently administered by the Regional Council. Who knows what's happening in the future, team? That is the current arrangement, and was the arrangement in this meeting was held. I would propose really at this early stage in the triennium, again, it's going to be information received midway through conversations that were already in play at the time. And again, there are several minutes over several years, decades, I would probably say, that may give some context to the minutes that is captured of the conversation of the day. And as we get into our roles, firstly with our Kawerau Road Safety Committee, then lifting up to the Eastern Bay of Plenty Road Safety Committee, and then further to how that links to the Regional Transport Committee, which is our link to Waka Kotahi New Zealand Transport Authority. We will start to see the links and the connections as we go along in our journey. But we do have a recommendation, please, saying that the minutes of the Regional Transport Committee meeting, which was held on the 19th of September 2025, that meeting was held at Regional House at 1 Elizabeth Street in Tauranga, be received.
Happy to move.
I have a mover in councillor Ross and a seconder in councillor Julian. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none, the item is carried. We're at pages 36 through to 46. Agenda item 10.2 is the Bay of Plenty Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Grant Committee meeting held back on the 26th of September 2025. A Bay of Plenty wide arrangement. Councillor Upland. Again, an information receiving exercise under the previous team at the Bay of Plenty at the range level, simply at this stage, just to inform you of the conversation. We do have an upcoming induction at the Orchard in Te Whuke for elected members. We may learn a little bit more. It's a little bit like insurance. You hope you don't need to know that knowledge, but if it's needed, you absolutely need to be ready to look after our community.
Actually, through your worship.
Councillor Apiata.
5.3 on the key point, the fourth key point for members. Are you able to, was there more discussion around that one?
I'm looking at page 39.
Yes.
Point 5.3, the second paragraph of key points members.
Yes.
The 1, 2, 3, 4th point suggested improved visibility of council efforts and collaboration with other agencies and express support for councils. It's very wordy, isn't it, as I read that out loud, to proactively communicate their roles and readiness to the public to raise public awareness of emergency preparedness. It's very long and lengthy. Really the intent, if I can speak to intent, for that particular capture was around community readiness. And I believe the Civil Defence Bill was also being reviewed at the time. That often there's a how can we better measure a community's readiness for emergency response? If I can say that I might summarise it in that way. It's always difficult. We can't even use the rubbish bin for our rubbish or put the dog on the lead when we're in our shared spaces. And inviting the team, the operational team, to be able to propose some way that we can see, because I heard it this morning in the chamber, education doesn't work. I'd possibly push back at that, but it depends what the conversation is. What you simply can do is just invite people, because my memory was there was a time in Kawerau over the last triennium where Kawerau and only Kawerau experienced 1,000 odd earthquakes in one weekend. And at a time when people are really struggling in the high cost of living time, we're just trying to live day to day, let alone when things in the extremities occur and we have to respond. So that was an invitation to the staff to be operational staff. How can we better measure or improve our community's readiness? It's probably an odd measure, given that the makeup of your community is in a vastly different place to be able to be prepared for anything every day, let alone a civil defence emergency. I hope that helps. That was the intent, and it was variable across the different councils that make up the Bay of Plenty, because we're very different, and the population is very different in different council territorial authorities. So that's why it was invited by the staff of each hapori to be able to propose ways that you might be able to visibly see. Maybe you can't measure community preparedness, but you can measure what has been put out there to put in place and to inform people. I hope that's not confused you even more. Than a very long sentence.
No,
Just through you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Julian.
This actually brings up a valid point, not only for civil emergencies, but if you're closing a road or flooding, which is an emergency, etc., that everybody is actually kept in the loop. And at our last Eastern Bay Road safety meeting, there was a concern on the Wainui Road, and we're letting everybody or all the agencies know had actually fallen down. So not only is it necessary for our community to know, it's also necessary for the groups within the community that they are all communicating. And we all know when there's emergency, who gets hit first? The mayor. Yeah, so and she needs to, or they need to front up and know their rights and responsibilities as well. But it is important that all agencies work together, that they all know. And I think that also, when I read that, was a big thrust of that as well as our communities knowing, but the agencies within the community knowing as well, and working together.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Julian. Councillor Apiata, I will try and simplify that. And forgive me, as the chair of the Bay of Plenty, I think at the heart of things, the simple question was, how prepared are we and how do we know? Maybe that time. It takes me a couple of goes when I think about it. Forgive me.
Just following on, sorry, Your Worship, just following on to from
Deputy
Councillor
Mayor.
Julian, just in regards to what was it, page 44, recognition of service by redundancy. And I lovingly refer to Councillor Julian, knowing how long she has also served this community. And when I looked at Barbara's 27 years of dedicated service, where she was presented, Your Worship, you were able to do that as part of the chair role. But also when you have a look at how many times she has stood in, and of course, when you look at one of those areas was the Edgecombe floods, it brings back to home the mahi. It was as it shares there in item 7.1, it was an evolution of civil defence emergency management from a lesser known function to a highly professional and essential service. And it was the minutes of acknowledge, Your Worship, that these minutes were lifted to the table. They were no longer something that a representative from our council attended, but actually to be in the know, have the same information as everybody else. And that includes the transport as well. Minutes that were lifted, we may not have been there, but we know what's on the table. So just acknowledge her service and commitment in looking after all of our logging. And acknowledging too, Your Worship, the at the end of that on 7.1, item number 10, the conclusion from the transition between directors and reaffirming confidence in the preparedness and professionalism of the Bay of Plenty CDEM group. And so all of those who sit within that committee appreciate the work that's gone on behind the scenes, because as you heard in our public forum, it is it's always going to be a topic that is close to our hearts, but also making sure that we're working together collectively for the benefit of everybody. So thank you for chairing that space, Your Worship, and also for bringing the minutes to the table, which our new members may not know of, that they were actually, they're actually an addition to making sure we're fully informed around what's happening in the room. Nothing further, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor King. There's nothing further, team. We do have a recommendation, please, that the minutes of the Bay of Plenty Civil Offence Emergency Management Group joint committee meeting, you can tell someone was the chair because we've practiced that, held on the 26th of September 2025, be received. Can I invite a mover? I have a mover and Deputy Mayor King and a seconder and Councillor Worsley. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. On our tables, forgive me for the delay, team. We do have the Mayor's report that has been tabled. Just take a moment, please, to wander through that report. And invite any questions, points of clarification, Even reconfirmation or affirmation, please. Commonly taken.
Through your worship, if we turn to email correspondence on the 21st of the 11th,
First of
the 11th, the last page, sorry, Aroha, there's no numbers on our pages.
Second to last.
Yes, second to last one, in regards to our house, email with Mayor Tania Tapsell and Rotorua around the housing initiatives. Is there any informational updates along those emails, or was it just an email around the initiatives that they've pursued with iwi as we are also moving in a housing development as well, Your Worship?
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I might defer actually to C. Godfrey, please. There was a central government announcement about Kainga Ora investments. That Mayor Tapsell with some of their housing developments across Rotorua had just offered if there was some advice that we might be able to share.
Yes.
With Kawerau Whakatane in Opotiki, there's been a signal of a number of houses, I believe, in the media release. And that was simply a warm invitation from Mayor Tapsell to be able to have shared learnings from their experience of what worked incredibly well and what was incredibly horrific for their Rotorua. So that we might be able to take advantage of what's being signalled by Kainga Orders. You Godfrey, please, wearing your hands, thank you.
Kia ora, Your Worship, just following up on that point, the government released last week an announcement that they're targeting the build of 100 to 120 social housing homes in the Eastern Bay of Plenty. So the government has developed a new housing strategy focusing on the areas that they identify of the greatest need. And in that investment document, the Eastern Bay of Plenty, in particular the Opotiki district, followed by the Kawerau district, and followed by Whakatane, were identified as three of the most housing deprived regions in New Zealand. So the government will look to spend over 100 million across New Zealand, but with at least 100 to 120 social houses built here in the Eastern Bay.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ross. If there's nothing further, please take. We have a recommendation that the Mayor's report for the period Thursday, 25th of September through to Wednesday, the 26th of November be received. I'm happy to move the recommendation. I have a seconder in Councillor Hill. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none. The item is carried. I'm actually happy to reopen it if we have some questions. Councillor Leo Kavatani.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. I just wanted to refer to mayoral correspondence.
Mayoral correspondence.
On the 30th of September, the email was received from the executive to put it to Kawerau. On behalf of the CEO, can you establish the need for staff?
Yes, thank you, and I'll take that one, see Godfrey. So there's an invitation, a warm invitation to meet with the Hauora to better understand their service delivery for our hapori. That's just timing. We will plan to do that, I would say, dare I say, in the new year. Our kaupapa, our immediate priority is actually understanding our elected member responsibilities. Yes, so that's absolutely intended to take up that warm invitation to meet. It's just around timing. We've seen in this 4 short weeks since we declared the oath that there is lots to learn in terms of our responsibility. We have some legal responsibilities now. That's what the Act defines and determines for us. That invitation will be taken up in the new year when we've done a little bit more of our induction work as elected members. I hope that helps answer your question, Kapai. Anything further from elected members? I will just reconfirm, I had mover in the mayor, seconded by councillor Hill. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against, the item is carried. We are at pages 47 through to 51, team. Agenda item 12, which is the action schedule. And again, we will see some actions. You may have heard the framing throughout the meeting of actions to be taken up. And that just confirms it's a small table so that we can follow through. You will see the pace and the depth of the work that we do. And this is but one way in which we make sure that we don't drop the ball. There will be several in here, all at the same magical time frame. But this is just one way, and we can see some of the older conversations that have been in place. Elected members, burn your hands if there's any questions or points of clarification, please.
Through you, your worship, on
Deputy
page
Kingi.
47.
Page 47,
First page, that's the first item, activity review for economic development. Just an acknowledgement, your worship, to the team that actually organised the economic development event Pathway to Prosperity. The room was full. An acknowledgement to the operational team, CEO Godfrey, for making that happen, for the invitations wide to those who current businesses and who are maybe future partners, and then the holistic wraparound where it wasn't just about business, but it's also investing in our future, because we had our kura that was there as well, and what that could look like sustainability wise, and some of the ideas that were shared by those who attended. The guest speaker too, someone from home, someone very familiar with Kore Te Hau. Some of the mischievousness, but it was real conversations, and it was people who love kauro, who see the potential that despite all the noise that is happening within the central government space, and they may hear that noise, they actually were there for the opportunities that kauro presents. And so just want to acknowledge our guest speaker, Peter Crisp, our iwi, our MIL who were there, all of the partnerships that are in play because of the work that's been done behind the scenes outside of the chambers to bring those relationships to the forefront. And the food. Thank you very lucky. And for our mayoral aid as well, as you were leaving the door, your worship, you couldn't leave without doing an activity. As an ex-teacher, I really loved that. And it was easy to do. Everybody was taking part in those activities. So look forward to the outcome of that, the information that was captured, but also just an acknowledgement of what was held, a vision, and the newly formed committee that is working on behalf of kauro outside of the space. You would have loved it, your worship. But you were busy, your worship. It was in your previous report, looking after kauro from a different level.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kingi. And that's the reason why we are a team. To look after kauro, sometimes it requires for different members of our team to be in different spaces. And we are honoured and really humbled that we have a trust and a confidence that things will continue on. They don't rely on just one person, but on the collective unity of the team. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kingi.
Just through your worship, I'd just like to acknowledge our management staff who gave up a day of their very busy schedules actually to assist with that. And also to note that Jessie Morgan Rananui from the Whakatane District Council attended, and speaking to him last night, he said it was a wonderful insight and knowledge gained for which he can take to his own table. But, you know, it's great that other members of Eastern Bay councils are supporting each other.
Thank you, Councillor Julian.
Oh, and our regional councillors were there as well.
Our regional councillors, thank you. There's nothing further, Tim. We do have a recommendation, please, that the updated action schedule. Deputy Mayor Kingi.
Apologies, your worship. Just a question on page 50, just for clarity. that final item there around contacting Horizon, where it's a completed item, I note. So just with the update that was provided, is there a contact? So contact we can see was made. I couldn't really see that in the update. And then of course, we know that timelines are quite important when we have communications, especially when we have huge requests for service coming from that particular area. I'm just wondering if we're capturing the dates of those conversations that are being had. I see that there was an update, and then I wondered if those targets were our targets or are they their targets in regards to that last paragraph there, Your Worship. Just some clarity.
Thank you, Sir Godfrey, and any member of your team, please, reading that the set target is to complete 90% of faults within 14 days and 10% within 28 days. I'm seeking clarity, please, if that is our target or our third-party contractor Horizon's target.
Through you, Your Worship, that is our target. We've had contact with Horizon too. It's not captured here, but I'll speak to it. We've had contact with Horizon at several levels. So at the roading and engineering manager level, up to the GM level, and then up to my level as well. Just for noting as well, renegotiation of that contract comes up soon as well. So that will be a significant operational undertaking. And with the concerns that have been raised in the community, we're quite well informed as to what we wish to take to that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Sir Godfrey. I might just please, so in the knowledge of that renegotiation and the timing, suggest that we leave that open. We actually leave that live and active. Well, because if I can please, just from the public response, that often it is that delay and not hearing and not knowing, and people are feeling incredibly unsafe when they can't, when in the darkened corner pocket areas. So as we go about is operationally, the contract negotiation is undertaken to capture those with clarity. How are our people, how are the people of Kawerau communicated with? That was a key area of concern. What we heard was complaints of people have reported they're frustrated, nothing's happening, and it is a third-party arrangement. So I'm not sure if I'm picking up from Deputy Mayor that that's quite clear as of yet. So not quite at a completed stage until we get that clarity, because the targets that we are being measured by are wholly, fully dependent on the delivery of our third-party contractor. And just to get an assurance that those matters have been included in the new negotiation, so that we can share that with Kawerau. You can expect to be responded to directly from the contractor within whatever timeframe it is in so many days, because we have then a level of recourse when the public forum is open. I didn't get my answer in 3 working days, 5 working days, 10 working days, and then we can carry that through. And I suggest that that stays live, still in the action schedule for now. We'll just shift that back from completed into live until that's done. Thank you. We'll leave that. We've probably got 6 action items added to the action item. It's going to be brilliant. Anything further? If there's nothing further, we do have a recommendation, please, that the updated action schedule of resolution actions requested by council be received. Can I invite a mover, please? I have a mover and councillor Apia and a seconder and councillor Jolie, and all those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We are at pages quite substantive agenda items 52 through to 135. This is the standing orders for 2025 through to 2028. You've got to be really on your hands.
Kia ora morena tātou.
Morena.
The standing orders are the rules that govern the conduct of council meetings, including council committee and subcommittee meetings. They exist in a funny legal space where you have to adopt them as per the Local Government Act 2002, but you won't go to jail if you breach the standing orders. So They're an unusual beast, but essentially what they do is control both the conduct of the meeting, but they also control the legality of resolutions. So in making resolutions via the Local Government Act 2002, those resolutions do need to be consistent, or the way that things were resolved do need to be consistent with the standing orders. So although they might not be regulations or legislation in and of itself, they have this follow through impact that if you don't follow standing orders, there may be a question around the resolutions or the decisions that are made here at this table might not necessarily stand. So that's the importance of ensuring as elected members and also staff that standing orders are adhered to. Now, the standing orders that we have here before us are based on the best practice guideline, which is produced by LGNZ, in particular, Mr. Mike Reid, who some of you will get to know over the next 3 years, who was the guru in local government law, standing orders and codes of conduct. So we have our standing orders more or less based on what LGNZ provides. You'll note though here, there are two suggested changes to our standing orders, two suggested changes from experience in the last triennium. One of those changes is at clause 28.4, which is around, and as we saw earlier, the signing off of minutes from the previous triennium, just to avoid situations where, for example's sake, a whole new council and an entirely new table might be asked to approve minutes at which none of those elected members were actually present, which presents some obvious problems. So here at 28.4, there's the option for the relevant chairperson, who, if it's full council, that's the mayor. If it's regulatory and services, that would be the chair of that committee, and so on. For the chair and the CE to jointly sign off the minutes from the final meetings of previous trienniums, which we think is a logical change to recommend. And then another logical change, this is a tidy up from a previous change that occurred over COVID. Of course, meetings were attended online and changes were made to the standing orders to accommodate online voting. Here, we're also proposing to tidy up the quorum issue to allow people who are attending online to vote and be included in the quorum. So there's a little bit of something of a gap there where someone attending online is not counted to the quorum but could still vote. So tidying up that there. So those are the two suggested changes to resolve there at recommendation number 3. But otherwise, Your Worship, happy for any questions.
Thank you, C. Godfrey. Elected members, any questions?
Well, on the page, sorry, just for determining a quorum, so page 87, I'll just for clarity. Item B, a majority of the members physically present where the number of members, including vacancies, is odd. So is that us? So we're just trying to ascertain, so the quorum is the number of elected members being 8, including the mayor or excluding the mayor?
Thank you, I'll take that. Thank you, C. Godfrey. So in terms of elected members, it is the table of 9.
Okay.
The mayor can only be the mayor if they're elected, in the same way that councillors can only be councillors if they're elected. So,
sorry, just to clarify, so B is the one that we are, the quorum is B?
A quorum for half of the physically.
So what applies to Kawerau District Council, forgive me, is the reference because of the odd total number.
Yeah.
And A would apply if there were 10, 6, including the mayor. So for our council, yes, thank you, Councillor Hill. We are, we fall under clause 11.1 part B.
Your Worship, just acknowledge the report, and also just acknowledge too that was it only a little while ago we had our TORs, our terms of references for those committees. And, you know, the detail behind it, and now seeing there is another item that's also on our agenda too, but how we will see on page 54, when we do go through the recommendations, that this will apply to all meetings of the council, its committees and subcommittees. It's always nice to have that full guide that will go along with our terms of references that were in our previous ordinary council. We wish.
Thank you, Brittany. And principally, you just want to get an assurance that you're not having, making decisions with a select few. That's what the reference to the majority was about, that you don't have that type of arrangement. And in the, well, yes, 4 weeks since we've been on council, but actually a lot longer in terms of our relationships across Kawerau. Very confident it's not the intent of this table to have secret little meetings, and these are some of the words that have been used to describe councils, all councils across the country. Secret little meetings where deals are made. That is not the intent. That is the reference to the majority. And I felt that intent from every one of our elected members thus far. Early days, great way to start. Thank you, team.
Through your worship,
How's that?
just after some clarity on page 73.
Page 73, item 4.6, aye.
Just around the chief executive, or in the absence of the chief executive, the nominee must chair the first meeting until the chairperson has made an oral declaration and attested the declaration. Are those the committees and subcommittees? I don't understand.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Apiata. And we won't understand because you weren't with us on the 29th of October.
Oh, my bad.
No, it makes absolute sense. So for those who were, a great question. For those who were, CEO Godfrey actually opened the meeting at Rautahi. And then the mayor then made the oath declaration and then was able to chair the meeting from there on. But great question, actually, because it makes zero sense, given that the mayor was chairing the following week when we had the extraordinary council meeting to complete our oath declaration.
This is what happens when you're not around.
Oh, no, I hope that gives an understanding, and I'm checking that was our experience team at Rautahi back on the 29th of October. Are you happy with that, Sir Godfrey?
Thank you, Your Worship. That was my recollection as well.
Thank you, Councillor. As we signaled earlier, simply just reading team to familiarise ourselves. And as long as we are mindful of the principles of engaging respectfully, not losing sight of the purpose to serve Kawerau, then we'll be okay. You simply give us some ways in which we can do that respectfully and honourably. If there's nothing further, team, and I know it is simply reading, and we will become a little bit more familiar, and we become less familiar. See, Godfrey is going to help us come back into familiar territory, because there is a lot in terms of the decisions that we make. This is when we really start to understand the impacts for our people. But we're going to be great. We do have recommendations, team. And I'll take them as a suite altogether, please. Recommendation 1, please, is that the report Standing Orders 2025 to 28 be received. 2, that the standing orders are as proposed from pages 52 through to 135 are adopted as the Council's standing orders for the 2025 to 2028 triennium and shall apply to all meetings of the Council its committees and subcommittees. And 3, that council confirms the amendments to the standing orders as follows. That clause 28.4, the minutes of the last meeting before election, ngā miniti o te hui whakamutina I mua I te pōtitana be amended to the chief executive, and the relevant chairpersons may sign or agree to have their digital signature inserted to the minutes of the last meeting of the local authority and any committee, local and community boards, if there are some, before or following the next election of members. If the relevant chairperson is not part of the new council, it is appropriate that a reappointed councillor, as recommended by the chief executive, can countersign the minutes. In Roman numeral 2, that under clause 13.8, members' status quorum, te tūna o te mema kōrama be amended to members who attend meetings by electronic link will be counted as present for the purposes of a quorum. And I invite a mover for all the recommendations. I have a mover in Deputy Mayor Kingi and a seconder. I have a seconder in Councillor Apiata. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We're at pages 136 through to 159. Agenda item 14, which is the Code of Conduct, and we are again in the hands of the Chief Executive. See, Godfrey, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. This may seem like a formality, but we must adopt a code of conduct for this triennium. But you would have noted that the government has ordered the Local Government Commission to develop a standard code of conduct which will apply to all councils in New Zealand, and that consultation process we expect, or that legislation rather, we expect through sometime in 2026 if the current timetable holds. The code of conduct essentially governs how elected members relate to each other, both inside of meetings, but it also covers conduct outside of meetings as well. The general principles which you would have seen could possibly best be summarised as integrity, honesty and respect, respect being a key one. You'll also see there with the code of conduct, there is a process as well for where there are potential breaches of the code of conduct, and there's an escalating process as well. So it often depends upon the severity of what is being alleged or what is under consideration. Now, again, our code of conduct is largely based on code of conducts that you'll find in other councils. There are templates utilised by Local Government New Zealand as well, and many councils more or less adopt a very similar code of conduct, and that uniformity is often a strength because when situations may arise, it means that sometimes you can look to other councils to see, well, what was an ideal process that you undertook, and alternatively, you could perhaps look to other councils and say, what was a less ideal process that was undertaken. So that's one of the advantages of working on similar codes of conduct, and is one of the reasons why the government is bringing in a standard code of conduct to apply to all different councils. You'll also see there is an option available to elected members on whether they wish to include the dress code. I believe our dress code extends back to the year 1997. Some councils still retain dress codes, other councils do not. I believe our neighbours still retain dress code standards, which are more or less the same as ours. Many other councils, though, have started to perhaps seen it as something of a relic of a bygone era. So many councils have begun the process of no longer retaining a dress code, either at the level of the code of conduct or at the level of policy or at standing orders. But we've allowed the option there for elected members to determine what they'd like to do with the dress code. Formalising it into the code of conduct would give it some concrete force, and would also allow elected members to easily find it, as opposed to when the question was asked, we did have to go back into the archives to determine where and when that dress code was first adopted. So having the clarity of the dress code up front in the code of conduct may help future elected members, perhaps, if the current elected members wish to keep it, may help future elected members find it more easily. But that is purely in your hands as elected members as to how you'd like to do that. Otherwise, open to questions on the code of conduct.
Did you see our elected members?
Through your worship,
How's that?
much appreciate the dress code being in there. Saves the guesswork.
Through you, your worship, just adding to that, we may be a small council, but we are an important council, and it shows the way we dress in our meetings, respect for our community. We're not going to turn up in shorts and bush singlets, because that would not be respected by our community. So I think having a dress code, perhaps the female members can nut out their dress code, because I did suggest it once and got hammered down. You know, females don't need a dress code, but we have had the odd occasion in the past where, in my opinion, a female member might have let us down. But certainly when I was working in education, what you wore, and this is going back a bit, depended upon how you were treated by the rest of your members plus your parents. And one principal was actually quite strict about what it was. And when certain teachers left and went to another school and thought, good, don't have to adhere to that, they came back 3 weeks later and said, I understand why you put the dress code in. So it's not only in local government, I think it's right across the board. You sort of honour people if they are dressed appropriately for the occasion.
Thank you, Councillor Julian. Again, for the time that we've been together as a team, we understand that we are representatives and ambassadors, where the environment or the meeting requires us to dress more formally. It's not actually about us, it's about the reflection for our Kawerau community. Because I will say actually that there are some times where it's more appropriate to be in bush singlets and red bands because we're meeting with that particular type of crew. So really the principle is you would look very silly in Kawerau. Well, did you know that you look silly in your high heels going up the hill, getting your heels stuck, your stiletto heels stuck? Aileen, what on earth are you wearing that for? Go and get your steel caps and stop mucking around. So the basic principle is we carry a reflection and a representation of our community, where we are meeting in a formal meeting environment. And we've all actually across the board attended our Bay of Plenty inaugurations. Some of us have been down to Wellington. Some of us have been across to our zone to Waikato Bay of Plenty. And we understand that Kawerau, I don't like the word, will be judged by how we show up. And we show up proudly as sons and daughters of Kawerau. So that's a summation. It's not a question, see Godfrey, but maybe just an observation. We understand about being respectful, particularly in our difference of opinion and view, being respectful in the way we engage with that, because our purpose is to serve Kawerau. I'd be super interested to see what other forms of government, what code of conduct they have and operate under. But that's not for this house. We're only worrying about Kawerau today. If there's nothing further, elected members, please. Councillor Darren.
142, I just want to make an acknowledgement in terms of Te Tere Te Waitangi, especially in the times that we're in at the moment. It's quite challenging. And I suppose if it's, when I look at inclusion, and especially when it was around the elections and including the community through the whole process, taking them on a journey alongside us, and even once the election process was done and finalised, we continue to take them with us, because these are hard times. as someone who's new to the governance space, it's been a bit tough to hear the decision that was made at 5 o'clock yesterday, and then sitting around our councillors and having a dinner, just a chat with them. But what I'm very strong on, and I know we all are, is that together we look at partnership with the communities and our neighbours out there, that we continue in partnership, and that looks like having discussions. So what I want to acknowledge is the Kawerau District Council and those that have been a part of this council for a long time, that have been able to build so we can be at this position where we do this together, and then we address things together. So yeah, I just really want to acknowledge that, and it's good to see it on paper. It's lovely to see it on paper, and that together that we can have honest discussions, because one way to learn is to have a cordial, an open cordial, and move together. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shell. Continuing the worship from Councillor Dowie as well. And I learnt this, but it wasn't actually, it was through the guidance I had from the table when I first joined the team. But you become a public figure. You already are anyway, but sometimes they think you can solve everything, and they come up to you and they approach you and they ask you to do things that really, there is some processes that are in place operationally. If it's to raise a request, if it's to share any of their mamae, there are processes operationally that we can refer them to. And also when social media, you will see that, and I do go to page 144, expressing personal views publicly, whether it is one-on-one, whether it is on social media. This is just a good, timely reminder of the positions that we're in, the privileged positions of all our rohi. And so in that, there's some space where we just breathe, and it actually guides you around how to manage ourselves. And as a team, if we get lost and we're not understanding what the code of conduct is and how we can look after ourselves, always go back to our CE in regards to what does this mean? What do we have for ourselves? Because there may be processes that aren't in here that we don't want to have assumptions made of. So I'm just very aware sometimes that publicly you can be attacked, just put it out there, or you may be questioned around what act is coming to Kawerau. In the space, it does share with us what it looks like around the code of conduct in regards to information. So it covers everything. CE Morgan, very grateful to have this, and very timely, because you've just had the standing orders. So it rolls together, and then of course the terms of reference, which is those committees that we all sit a part of, so that we're looked after, so we can look after Kawerau. Nothing further.
Thank you,
just
Deputy Mayor King.
worship.
Team, when I think back to how we came together as an elected member team, long before things were written in the code of conduct, we met in this chamber with our families who would take the student of us. So actually, Kawerau District Council wrote our own code of conduct, and it was our commitment to each other and to the families that sit behind us that we would look after one another. We will absolutely do our best. This formalises that commitment that we made to one another, to your families, to your kids, that we would absolutely do the job that we're tasked to do, but we will do it in a respectful way. This is the formalisation of that conversation that was held so much earlier, even before we'd sworn the oath. We made that commitment to one another and to our families to look after each other while doing our mahi. Is that right? Very good. If there's nothing further, team, I'm seeing the time. We've got a guest coming into the house, so we'll start to move things along at a punishing pace, fast and furious. We have 2 recommendations, please. 1, that the report code of conduct be received, and 2, we have an A option or a B option. That council adopts the code of conduct, either A, as presented with no amendment, or B, as presented with the amendment adding the following dress code to the code of conduct. Dress code: elected members maintain an appropriate standard of dress at meetings and committees, and council recognise that the standard of dress will be in accordance with the level of formality of the meeting they are attending. If The formality is red bands, we know what to do. Some principles for guidance are casual dress is appropriate at briefings. Committee meetings involve engaging with members of the public, therefore a neat and tidy standard. And council meetings are a formal occasion, therefore a more formal standard of dress is appropriate. I'm inviting a mover for the recommendations with clarity of recommendation 2 of either A or B.
I'm happy to move to B, your worship.
Happy to move recommendation 1 also alongside that, councillor Ross?
Yes, correct, your worship.
I have a mover for recommendation 1 to receive the report and for recommendation 2B with the inclusion of the dress codes. I have a seconder and Deputy Mayor Kingley. Again, for recommendation 1 and for option 2B, all those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none, the item is carried. And for clarity, that's with the inclusion, because it's super helpful. We heard earlier in the meeting. And actually, it lays the whāreki for future councillors, just so they don't have to go and guess and search. Very good, thank you, team. We are at agenda item number 15, pages 160, 160 through to 194. Agenda item 15, which is the annual plan performance for the 3 months ended 30 September 2025. Group manager Butler, wonderful to see you. We're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Morena.
Morena.
Okay, so what we've got today here is the first quarter reporting up until the 30th of September. So this is early in the new financial year. All the budgets were set in the long-term plan and are detailed there. So a lot of things, it's early stages, and just as previously reported, just with subsidies and grants, that 3 million, the majority of that relates to Stoneham Park, and that will be coming in to match the expenditure as that goes. So that's why that's quite a little bit lower. And just on page 163, and thank you, I'll take the whole report as read. I appreciate there's a lot of information in there. I just wanted to also, so while we report to you the financial outcome for the first quarter, we also do non-financial performance. And just on page 163 under number 4, non-financial performance, there are a number of targets this year that relate to the community survey. Now that will be done next year, April, May, that will be completed. And just for the purpose of this report, and just to be clear and transparent, if they're on target to achieve, I have included them in that. So it's looking very promising with the 76 there, but it is early days. Also, just to bring to your attention, so the targets that are now in the following pages that we're reporting on, they are come straight out of the long-term plan. So they're set for the next 3 years. So there were some changes that you will see reflected, which are positive as council went through that LTP process. So in particular around the noise complaints, the dog complaints, which were changed to be priority 1. So there's a sort of a priority system. And so that's to try and see and manage those complaints, which is looking good at the moment. And particularly also that was changed was the library targets. So we moved from having the number of books purchased to providing the programs for the community, and also the number of people that come in. Also, there are a lot of regulatory standards, targets in terms of particularly roading, water, wastewater, stormwater, solid waste that are all dictated in legislation what we have to have in there. So those cannot really change. So I'm open to questions, Your Worship.
Thank you, Group Manager Butler. It may look like a lot, but actually we did a whole year's worth of in adopting on our very first meeting back at Roadmaker Marae. From memory, we got to see 12 months worth. So this is just presenting it in the quarters in which we measured every 3 months, team. And we'll get more familiar with how the layout and what it's telling us in terms of our plan for the year ahead and how we're now tracking as we prepare that. Nothing further. Elected members, again, it is just receiving the information, becoming a little bit familiar. We started with the top gun and went the whole 12 months, group manager, butler, and now we're starting to bring it down a little bit so that we can better understand that, particularly as new eyes from new elected members.
We should just appreciate the action item that was carried on the action schedule on page 174 in regards to responsiveness indicators, and that's around the street lightage. So just appreciate the action item has been lifted back to the schedule again. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kenny, and I will just take a brief moment to welcome in our Member of Parliament. We're warmly welcomed by Dana Kirkpatrick this morning. Thank you for coming in. We are getting there. We're just on a quarterly summary. I'm happy to listen. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So good to see you and wonderful to see you too, Shirley. Welcome in. Thank you. Great to see you. We have a recommendation, team. If there's nothing further, that's a report annual plan performance for the 3 months ended 30 September 2025 be received. I invite a mover. I have a mover and Councillor Julian and a seconder and Councillor Apiata. All those in favour, please signal aye. Aye. Those against? Here and none, the item is carried. We're at pages 195 through to 210. Item 16 is the adoption of performance report for Park Glade Lifestyle Village for the year ended 30 June 2025. We are again in the hands of Group Manager Butler for this agenda item. Manager Butler, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. So, as members know, council has a retirement village, and we have to prepare a separate audited annual reports for the village. The deadline is at the end of November, so statutorily we have to complete it today. And this financials form part of council's whole when you adopted the annual report that was already included in there. So we just have to separate this information, and it does get audited by Audit New Zealand. As the report said at the time of writing this, the auditors hadn't fully completed their work, but I am pleased to report that there are no changes to the accounts as presented today. So that's great to get that across the line. There was a surplus this year, and which was very close to budget, and we've improved on the deficit that we've had previously. And just to bring to the key part to your attention is council had previously given an advance to the retirement village. It's just part of separating out the accounts and complying with accounting standards. So there was an advance from council, which was that initial to fund to build the village. So what happens is council owns those assets. We have a large liabilities because essentially the people who move in have a right to occupy those properties. So we have to recognise a liability to pay them back should they want to move out in the future, because council will always own the asset and they've got the right to occupy it. So as you'll see there, the advance has decreased significantly from the 1.4 million down to 370,000, and we've had, as at 30 June, all units were fully occupied and well managed by Manager Humberston. And then we just note there how that liability has increased to the 9 million, and that just reflects what we would have to pay back to the residents should they leave all at once. So we don't see that ever happening, but we have to recognise it in our accounts in that way. So the cash movement really reflects the operational activities for the year, and due to the proceeds from those extra units being occupied now. So audit have confirmed that we will receive, following your adoption today, an unmodified, a clear, good audit opinion with no issues. So yes, so really it's in your hands, and happy for questions for the adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Butler. You may recall, team, back on the 29th of October, we had a raft of audit changes. That was very tricky to track, but if it's your first time looking at those, wonderful to hear that we have no proposed amendments come back from audit this time. And this, of course, is our retirement village, where our most precious pakeke, our puna mātauranga, or those who hold the knowledge of our Hapori community, Hopefully, they will not be leaving all at the same time. Thank you, Group Manager Butler. I completely agree with you here. But this is the piece of work that's undertaken, the discipline of being able to have that facility available for our Papipi, for our elders. Any questions from elected members? Councillor Jordan.
Just on page 201, when we look at expenses, we've got other expenses related to service and delivery. I presume that's the mowing of the lawns and that sort of thing.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. We're really prescriptive as to the wording we have to now use. There's actually been a new accounting standard that came out this year, so you'll notice that the wording is slightly different from previously. So if you do go to there are further notes in the report that does give you a breakdown of all those expenditures. So on pages 207, so it gives you the details of the rates, repairs, all those different variable expenses that go through, so that might assist in your query.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Julian. If there's nothing further, please, Tim, we do have 3 recommendations and I'll take them all together. One, that the report adoption of the performance report for Porrick Glade Lifestyle Village for the year ended 30 June be received. That council adopts the performance report for Porrick Glade Lifestyle Village for the year ended 30 June 2025, and that the Mayor and Chief Executive are delegated to sign the performance report. This consistency heading for Porrick Glade Lifestyle Village for the year ended 30 June following the adoption by council. I have a mover for all 3 recommendations. I have a mover in Councillor Hill and a seconder in Councillor Julian. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none. The item is carried. We're pages 211 through to 214. Final. Nearly. I've got to take the report. Item 17, we joined this morning by Group Manager Gillespie, the recruitment for the Eastern Bay of Queensland District Licensing Committee, and referred to as the DLC. Group Manager Gillespie, Good morning. Morning.
As I'll take the report as read, but there's just a couple of points I'd like to note. The recommendation number 2 is for the extension of the Commissioner's contract. That is on a if required basis. We may not need that, but if we do, we would like approval to seek approval for the extension of that. The committee is required. We must appoint a district licensing committee under the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act, and it enables the combined committee structure that we're looking at in this paper. But happy to answer any questions if you have any.
The members are in your hands. Thank you. And again, appreciating that the languaging and even the topic would be very new for our new members of council.
Just through you, Your Worship. Page 212, just looking at the options, I thought that they were all realistic and sensible and will actually guide us through to a smooth setting up of the new committee. Certainly the one where we retain the current commissioner, if needed, as you indicated. Manager Gillespie.
So just some information there around the recruitment process, the commissioner role. If you were unfamiliar with that arrangement, even the fact that our district licensing committee is an Eastern Bay arrangement, and the proposed process going forward. Anything further? Group Manager Gillespie, we're there.
The only thing is we have a makeup, our current makeup, just so you're aware, is we have one commissioner and we have 5 people sitting on the committee. We allow for 6 and normally we appoint 2 from each district. Where last time we went through this process, we only had 2. We only had 1 applicant from Opotiki district, and it was agreed throughout the different councils to go with a shorter committee. We've got a few more applications this year, so we're on form to have a full committee, and everyone can serve across the bay as required.
Thank you, Group Manager Crispin. Team, if there's nothing further, I will move to recommendations. I have recommendation 1, please, that the report recruitment for the Eastern Bay of Plenty District Licensing Committee or DLC be received. 2, that council approves the extension of the current commissioner, Commissioner 4, until the recruitment of the commissioner role is concluded. 3, that council approves the shortlisting of candidates by associated group managers from each of the Eastern Bay District Councils of Whakatane, Opotiki and Kawerau. And 4, that council nominates 1 council member to undertake interviews of the shortlisted applicants. And I will move all 4 recommendations and propose that our representatives, our nominated representative, be Deputy Mayor Kingi for our recommendations. I'm happy to move all 4 recommendations. We have a seconder.
Happy to second.
I have a seconder, a silent seconder, but I do have a seconder, and Councillor Dowie. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none. Manager Gladstone, we got what we needed. The item is carried. Thank you. Final last of the Mohegans. We do have agenda item 18 that has been tabled. I have got my glasses on, which is a concern, but we saw it in the end team. The council appointments to committees and various organisations. Following the adoption in the previous meeting of the terms of reference, so we have clarity of what we are doing and why we are doing it and the purpose of why we are arranged in this way. These different committee makeups, we now have tabled our council appointments to committees. Celia Godfrey, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you, Your Worship. Apologies for the late tabling of this document. There have been a number of iterations, and one of the reasons why there were a number of iterations was to try and accommodate or allocate rather workloads more appropriately. So as you'll note from the table under section 6, that a majority of the workload falls upon Her Worship the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and the chairs of our primary committees, which we established at our last meeting, and then a lower level of workload and responsibility for our other elected members who do not have chair responsibilities. So that's connected, of course, to our remuneration discussion at the last meeting as well, where we're trying to match our workloads as appropriately to the remuneration and to the levels of responsibility that we have. So you'll see under section number 2 there, a list of the committees to which we are seeking appointments. Some of those committees are internal to council. Some of those committees are council administered, but they include community representatives. As an example, Community Safety Committee is administered by council, but includes representatives from police and often other organisations as well. Similarly, the Creative Communities Assessment Committee includes community representatives too. You'll also see under 2.3 and 2.4, there are external committees of council as well, which are convened either jointly or convened by our partner councils. Those include the Eastern Bay Joint Committee, the Mayoral Forum, there's the Joint Waters Working Group, which will be convened on the 9th of December, Kawerau Local Leadership Group, and a number of others. And then there's just an explanation under section 3 about what those external committees look like, because you'll be familiar with our internal and council administered committees from the terms of reference that we passed at the last meeting. You'll see under section 6, there are recommendations under recommendation 6.2 that has the table of internal and council administered appointments. And then under recommendation 6.3, you'll see the external committees, and then noting there that appointments to external committees only include Her Worship the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, and our respective chairs, with one exception if you've spotted that Councillor Hill with the road safety responsibilities. I'm happy to take questions or direct them through Her Worship.
Thank you, elected members. We started with our terms of reference.
Yeah.
And for councillors who did signal some of their natural areas of interest, tried to have some inclusion in there. We recognise that particularly for our wonderful new elected members, there is a steep learning curve in terms of familiarity of their role in its entirety of being a councillor first. And we've also tried to incorporate some of that thinking into our committees thus far. These are not set in concrete like everything else that we do. We are recognising that the majority of our table are actually new councillors. We're excited by that because it gives a new lens and some new thinking and considerations, but also taking for those returning councillors who are more familiar with the role and responsibility. Was having that built. I open the table for any comments or questions, elected members. These will be reviewed in 12 months. Thank you. We've got none at this very early stage, and we recognise it's an early stage. We're sitting and go, let's give it a go and see how we go. With our intent to serve our community, let's give these a go, and actually we'll review them on the run. We do not have to wait 12 months and store up all of those suggested improvements. You saw a fine example in public forum 3 times over, actually, that we are savvy enough and nimble enough to recognise when things are not working. Let's not be nonsensical and continue on with things that aren't working. Let's raise that and adjust and evolve on the run, team. That's the invitation. If there is nothing further, please, we do have a recommendation that the report council appointments to committees and various organisations, I'm going to add and amend that recommendation on the run, be adopted and received. I'm happy to move in that way, please. I have a seconder and Deputy Mayor Kenny. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against, there are none. The item is carried and we look forward to our work and arranging ourselves in that way, particularly where we have external membership to partner. We already have some very early items for the early liaison committee from earlier in today's meeting. Team, we have come to the conclusion of our agenda proper. We do have a short confidential agenda. We're at agenda item 19, which is the exclusion of the public. Please, there's a lovely space.
So nice not to have to do it myself.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please, for the exclusion of the public? I have a mover and Councillor Ross, a seconder and Councillor Julian. All those in favour, please signal aye.
Aye.
Those against, the item is carried. Thank you, Papa. We will move into our confidential agenda at 11:20 a.m. today, Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025. Team, we have come to the conclusion of our ordinary meeting for today, Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025. Thank you, C. Godfrey, to you and your team for the stellar work that you do to look after Kawerau, for the response to our public forum earlier in the day today. Thank you so much. Thank you, elected members, for your bidding. We conclude our meeting as we do. Kia whakakapi tātou tau whui. Close our meeting today with closing karakia and invite Pastor Mark Kenny. Thank you. Can you all be upstanding, please?
Aka karakia tātou. E pā, I roto te ingo kaha o ihu. Mawhunea hau e whakamutu. Me hira tia tēnei hui noa iho. O te kauni hera o te rohi a Kawerau. I roto I te ingo o te matua, me te tama, me te wairua tapu. Amene. Ka huri. Father, in Jesus' mighty name, I hereby close and seal this ordinary meeting of the Kawerau District Council in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Now we are so closed and sealed at 11:28 a.m. Kia ora tātou.